What's good, y'all? How y'all doing? You know what time it is. It is time for Elevated Vibes on IntellectualRadio.com, our iHeart radio station. Now, along with me, your boy Abdul Rashid, I have just one king today, everybody. Just one. He used to keeper, but now, by his own request, we shall call him Mr. Ash.
Oh, okay. I guess I have arrived.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Now, everybody, we have a special guest with us. All right. This man is not only a producer, but he is soon to be, in my eyes, a bestseller.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Marvin Mukanaka.
All right. Welcome.
Hey, everybody, I got his name right. Y'all know I have a habit of destroying names.
Rehearsing, yeah. You did a good rehearsal.
Yeah. Finally got it right.
Now, everybody, his new book that is about to be out at the end of this month is called Beloved Hatred. Now, the premise along with this book, and I'm going to have him talk about the premise along with, himself and a little bit of history about yourself. But the premise touched me just reading to have the interest that you, I'm assuming, want for your readers. So talk about it.
Yeah, so let's start from the premise, and I know you want me to talk about myself as well.
Yes, sir.
One of the first things I'd say is I come a long way. I've come from very far across oceans, right, to get to the U.S. all the way from Africa, Zambia, my beloved country. But the premise of the story in this book, first of all, the title, Beloved Hatred. Mm-hmm. I had to think about something that would express the ideas that I'm trying to get across, and basically here I was trying to ask myself a question, or ask each one of us a question. Why is it that some people love to hate? Of all the things that you can love in life, you can love pets.
Right.
You can love nature. You can love alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
People do it.
Right. So, but of all the things that you can love in life, you can even love Jesus Christ, who you've never seen. Mm-hmm. You can literally love him. Why on earth would you choose to love hate? And so hate has become something that people love.
Right.
And so we need to address that. So that's where that title kind of comes from. So basically inviting us to the table to address the issue of hate. And then the premise of the story, which is the storyline.
Yes.
Basically an African-American woman falling in love with a white cop who killed her black boyfriend in a traffic stop. That's kind of crazy.
A lot of emotion going on there.
I know.
Yeah, a whole lot of twists and turns in the beginning.
I'm telling you, like, what on earth? And it took somebody, one of the experts, to actually coin it the way it's been coined now, because I actually wrote it differently, the storyline.
Okay.
It was a similar thing, but then he kind of brought a different twist. And let me read it to the listeners so they can hear it, how it comes out.
Of course.
So it says, when a white Chicago police officer kills a Chicago Bulls star, all hell breaks loose. The victim's girlfriend goes on to become national spokesperson for African American rights until she becomes romantically linked with the shooter. As Marvin Gaye once said, what's going on? What's going on? Now, go ahead before I proceed. You want to say something? I can see you breathing.
There's a lot of suspense in there, right there. That is tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the interesting things I want to bring out is the person that summarized it this way, which was just slightly different from what I had initially, brought in the aspect of Marvin Gaye. You know what's so interesting about that?
What's that?
He didn't even know it. My father named me after Marvin Gaye.
Wow. Some things are meant to be, bro.
I'm telling you, it was like,
Some
whoa.
things, honestly, are meant to be.
And when he sent it to me by email, he said, this is how I would write the storyline. As soon as I saw Marvin Gaye, I was like, whoa. And I asked him, did you know this? He said, I didn't know. And like you said, some things are just meant to be.
That's so true. That's so very true.
Yeah. So that's with the storyline.
Okay. Tell everybody a little more about you. Like, I've touched on a couple other things that you do, but I know you could do it a whole lot better than I could.
Absolutely. I do have a long history of being involved in the arts. Immediately after high school, which was close to 20 years ago, I was involved in the first soap opera in Zambia, the first ever soap opera, which was called Kabanana. I was involved in that. I played a cameo role as a doctor.
Okay.
And then I went on to 2 other productions, one of which is a movie called Twice Dead, done by a Nigerian group. And in all of those productions, I played the role of a doctor.
Even though I know it's called Nollywood, but y'all, we got Hollywood in here.
Here we go. Here we go. So, and I don't know why. It's just interesting that these people separately, without consulting each other, every time they saw me, they saw a doctor.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what that means. You guys can make the conclusions. But that's the brief history of my involvement in acting. I grew up in a life of theater. So in high school and primary school, secondary school and primary school, I did a lot of acting. I grew up in theater, so we're always doing skits and all of that. And then after school, years later, as I tried to find my grounding in writing, I eventually produced a short film called Home Sour Home. And in that short film, I was basically trying to address domestic issues, domestic violence towards women, which I am strongly against.
Right.
You do not touch a woman. You do not do that. Be a man. Be a man.
Be a man about yourself.
If you want to hit someone, hit yourself.
Right. Go punch a wall.
Go get yourself.
Something.
So, and that's what I was trying to address. And that's where I produced that song. Not produced, actually wrote the song and co-produced with a friend of mine. A friend of mine produced a song entitled I Need a Cure. And in that song, I was basically trying to say every person has issues that they're trying to address. You could be trying to address them on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, psychological level, through counseling and things like that. But the song I Need a Cure is basically a confession that, look, I need a cure. I need help, because all of us have failings in different areas of our lives, and all of us just have them differently.
That's true.
That's what that song I Need a Cure is. And it's fitting for a theme like this. That song is fitting for a theme like this, because here we're dealing with racism. And anybody who is a perpetrator of racism would be saying, I need a cure. But also even the victim of racism would be saying, I need a cure. Because, the racism leaves these after effects, psychological effects. Yes. And I don't want to rush to go into the George Floyd issue. I'll wait maybe towards the end, because that always tears me up.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a brief history about me. I do have a lot of siblings. I have a big family back home in Africa, and I'm sure that a number of them are watching live right now because we're on Facebook Live. But I lost my father when I was the age of 13, and my mother when I was 21. Growing up without a father was very, very difficult. We were a middle-class family, so we basically had everything we needed. We had a car, we had television, we had a powered house, electrified house, and all of that. So for the basic needs, we did well.
Right.
But after I lost him, my life went downhill. I ended up in abject poverty. I mean, poverty that if I described it here, you guys will start praying. It was really horrible. But I look back on those years and I realized those were my wilderness lives, my wilderness, the wilderness chapter of my life. And it was designed to furnish me, to really develop.
I was just about to say, it helped teach you to become the man that you are,
even
though it was tough.
It was tough.
It was very tough.
But it was meant to teach me certain things about life, and also to just have empathy and sympathy for the downtrodden, the voiceless people in society. And partly this is what this is about. It's about speaking for the voiceless. It's about speaking on injustice. And injustice, I feel that is something we all have to deal with. We all have to be a part of. And that's what this is. So part of the intention in the book, one of the goals is to be able to provoke people to become activists. And when I say activists, I'm not talking about being registered as an organization that's involved in activism. But all of us somehow have to be involved in the conversation of race. And one other thing before you ask me any further questions is, I feel like we're in a time in America where we probably need to switch off that. I don't know why it's doing that. Is it recording? But I don't know what's going on with that thing. But every person has to be involved in this conversation. One of the truths about this conversation is that it has to keep going on.
Right.
Because as Greg Popovich said, and we know Greg Popovich is an NBA coach.
Right.
He's given his voice on the issue of race in America.
He has a good platform.
Yeah,
of course.
And I love one of the things that he said in the past. He says we have to keep talking about it to remind people that we haven't dealt with it. And I'm not quoting his exact words, but he says something to that effect, which I actually quote in my book. He says we have to keep talking about it to remind people that we still haven't dealt with this problem. And so that's what I'm saying here.
Right,
I'm basically, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say,
Yeah.
because anything that if you don't fully deal with it, it's just like having an open sore.
Yeah.
If you don't fully deal
There
with
you
it,
go.
if you don't fully try to cure the sore,
Yeah.
the open wound,
It keeps festering.
right, and it will still become infected, and it will grow even.
And so one of the things I desire to do in the future is to talk about those wounds, what exactly they are, how they affect. I think about George Floyd's daughter.
Yes.
I know how bad it is to grow up without a father. And I'm telling you, it tears me up to think what that little child goes through. To see your father being slaughtered in the street like that. The trauma. Those are the wounds.
Right.
Those are the trauma. Interestingly, my book opens up with the line, "I can't breathe." And the context is interesting. I won't bring out the context because people have to read the book and find out for themselves. But the context in which I use the phrase, "I can't breathe," when my editor read that, he said, "This is the most powerful opening to a book that I've ever edited." It is powerful. It's frighteningly powerful.
Okay.
Because it says, "I can't breathe," but the context in which the character brings out those words is, you have to find out for yourself. But that's what I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to reach out to people, and not just Americans. I have to say this. Racism in America doesn't just affect Americans.
Right.
I'm a black person from Africa. And when I came into the country, it affected me so much to think about how you can kill a person. I kept asking myself, how do they sleep? You know what I'm saying? Because if I had a quarrel with you, I would not sleep until I make up with you.
Right.
But then think about killing someone.
But wouldn't it be, you could possibly say, how your environment or how your society is developed?
Absolutely. Because I come from a background where I've never seen a gun in my life. When police come to your house, if there's an altercation or something, they don't come with guns.
The police don't come with guns.
No. Because they're just going to talk to you. Stop doing what you're doing. That's it.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So to come to a place where you need a gun to stop a fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I sit back and I'm thinking, okay, these are supposed to be civilized people, the people that we look up to.
Yes.
This is America. We're looking up to you.
Right.
And that's the best you can do.
In a way, I want you to repeat that again so that people can understand.
Because it frightens me.
Right.
America, you are civilized people. That's the best you can do. Road rage. I see news clips of road rage. People have an argument on the road, and you run each other off the streets and kill each other.
Yes.
We have road rage in my country every day. You cross fires with people on the road, and all you do is talk about it. Oh, sorry, man, it happens. You can even exchange bad words, but it doesn't end in anybody shooting anyone. Because civilized people don't do those things. Civilized people talk.
And you know what, though? People need to hear this. People need to understand, because
civilized
that is
people
so perpetuated.
Sit
in that
down
way,
together.
Okay,
what's your beef with me?
Right.
You did this, I don't like it. I am sorry.
Right.
How can I make up for it? Right. That's how people resolve conflict.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh no, I definitely do.
It's for me, it's such a culture shock Where does this violence come from? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And to put it into context regarding the book, I mean, killing a person that is unarmed. I'm trying to show you that for a person like me and many people out there that are watching from Africa, they look at this and it's such a puzzle. Like, what is it that triggers this?
Right.
What is it? Because it's hatred.
Yes.
Some people have told me, no, it's not hatred. It is hatred.
Right.
If it's life-threatening, it's hatred.
Right.
Where does this come from? But there's also one other important thing I want to say from the onset.
Okay.
This is my take. Systemic racism in America is not a black and white problem. And so we need to get over white people going against black people or black people going against white people. Putting out generalizations like white people are racist.
Okay.
Obviously, that's not true, because I've met a lot of white people that I don't think are racist. But at the same time, I do acknowledge that it could be a white problem. That systemic racism could be a white problem. And I'm trying to say things right here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's hard to get things right because this is a very sensitive subject.
Of course. So, okay, if you don't put it as a black and white problem, which I understand what you're saying, would you put it as a rich and a poor problem?
I don't think it's a rich and poor problem. I think it's a human problem.
Maybe possibly communication problem?
Absolutely. It's a human problem made worse by communication problem. And I'm glad you pointed out communication, because for me, my intention in this book is to bring out nuggets, things that people have probably not heard with regards to how we should look at racism. And one interesting thing is your cousin, Miosha, when she read the book, you know what she said?
What's that?
She said to me, "You have presented racism in America in a way I've never thought about before."
I know she's loving to hear that right now.
And she's a pro.
Right.
And and when she said that, because she was the first person that made a comment about the book.
Okay.
And I thought she was just playing with me. But then when I went to 2 other people, 3 other people, 5 other people, and they're saying the same thing. There's even an editor, white editor, who said to me, "You really made me think about this thing.
Okay.
I've never really sat and thought about this." And then there's another person who is white again, a guy, who said, "There's a portion in your book that I read. I'm going to give it to a white friend of mine."
Okay.
Because he had a big quarrel with a black niece.
All right.
And they don't talk to each other. Because the black niece said that white people are racist in America. And obviously he said they're not. So there's this attack and defense. And he said, if I give it to him, meaning the white person, it's going to give him a lot to ponder.
Right.
Because there's some nuggets I brought out from there in terms of why black people say white people are racist, why they're generalizations, why people throw out the generalization that white people are racist, which obviously we know is not true.
Right.
You made sure you dropped some jewels along the path.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
and that was my intention. Bring out these jewels and nuggets, things to think about, a different angle of looking at the problem, and hopefully enrich this conversation about racism in America. And the one thing that I want to see, I don't know if I'm the one that can make it happen, obviously not alone, but I want to see healthy dialogue going on, healthy conversations going on. Because sometimes these conversations get uncomfortable. I think that because maybe different parties feel like they're being attacked, feel like they're being blamed. So we need to find a way of how we can stay away from blaming anyone.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's true that the generation of white people we're dealing with now, we're not the ones that initiated this problem. You get my point?
okay.
Yeah, but then, okay, and I do get everything that you're saying, but the way that everything has been set up,
Generalizations,
wise, through society for so long, you got to get through all the defenses.
Absolutely.
And
that's where the conversation comes in.
Right. Because if you look at it, no matter what the culture is, or no matter what the race is, there is a stereotype.
Yes.
About each and everybody. And because you had to endure that stereotype for so long, you put up a defense. As soon as you hear, it could be a certain word.
Yes.
And you're like, okay,
You close down.
You're right.
Yeah.
And you're ready for war.
Absolutely. And that's something that we have in our conversations. That's something that we have to help. We have to melt that pot.
Right.
We have to find of softening that pot, because there's a way that people just close up when, like you said, when they hear certain things.
Right.
They just shut down.
Right.
They either don't want to talk or they're attacking.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe just not being comfortable, sometimes, you know how they say the truth hurts?
True.
Do you think some of that has to do with it? Like some people just, when they're faced with the truth, they just don't want to admit it to then further on push the conversation, because then it would open the gates for other things that they may not be comfortable talking with?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that's part of the issue. Right. You know, and one of the ways that I like to explain this, the way I see this problem, is using the example of a relationship. We could take marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend. There's things that we do in there, and sometimes we don't know we're doing something wrong. And so when your partner confronts you,
of course,
you shut down, you defend yourself. Partly because maybe you don't know, or you're afraid of making the admission. Like you said,
Yes.
Right.
You're afraid of acknowledging the truth.
Yes.
Because you think maybe it will make you lose the relationship, or lose something in the relationship. And so you shut down to that truth. And I think that also happens, that dynamic also happens in the race conversation. And that's why I said we need to present things on the table that can help to get those things out of the way, get those defenses and those locking mechanisms out of the way. And then we can have a good flow of the conversation, and a healthy conversation where everybody knows I'm not being attacked, I'm not being condemned. This person just wants me to understand them.
Yes. Yes.
You know what
Okay,
I'm saying?
let me ask you this, and it might actually, of course, I haven't read the book yet, but it might actually be in the book, just from what you are saying. Some of these things that you think, or hopefully it can melt away that defense, do you have any of them in mind? Something that you can suggest?
I think it's just practical things. I mean, it's like, an example I can give is, because it has to be a practical thing. It has to have practical application. I think that when people have conversations,
Right.
there should be a way that you communicate to the other person. I accept you.
Right.
I love you.
Right.
And I want to get along with you. Because I think sometimes in the approach, we send the message, or people send the message that they don't accept the other person.
They're not receiving.
They're not
Right.
receiving the person. They're not accepting the person. That they don't accept the other
They're
person.
not receiving.
They're not
Right.
receiving the person. They're not accepting the person. And so
Right.
the person realizes also, if I do admit I'm racist, or if I do admit that white people are racist, then obviously this person is going to come on the attack
Yes.
against me.
Yes. Instead of the understanding.
Instead of the understanding. To solve the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we need to make the other part feel safe
Okay.
to make the admission. Because give an example again of relationship. When a woman confronts a man, are you cheating on me? I mean, if she comes out that way, he's going to be defensive, because he realizes, well, I'm under attack,
Right.
and I'm going to lose. He's thinking about what he's going to lose.
Right.
He's going to lose credibility. He's going to
Right.
lose money. You know,
Right.
you're going to lose your reputation.
Right.
Right.
So immediately you're thinking about the things that you're going to lose out in the situation.
Okay.
So I think that sometimes in the conversation, because it's confrontational, it's an attack. You're racist.
Right.
And so the person thinks about what they're going to lose if they admit that they're racist.
So maybe if it was a sit-down conversation
Absolutely.
in a good environment,
Yes.
where the understanding of appreciation for one another is put on the table.
Irrespective of what is true.
Yes.
Mhm.
Then it would be easier to move forward.
I think so.
Yes.
Because then that scenario will spread to other places of conversation.
Right.
Because once people see two people talking like that, black and white, talking and
Yes.
accepting each other,
Okay.
and in truth, that becomes a model for everywhere else where
Yes.
the conversations are being held.
And then they don't have the fear of
They-
being wrong or accepting
There
something
you
is
go.
wrong,
There you go.
or not understanding a situation.
Because then they realize there's nothing at stake
Right. But conversation.
but conversation.
And to solve a situation,
Absolutely.
a problem.
Yeah, because how we should attack this problem or approach this problem is the same thing we're supposed to do in relationships. When you have conflicts or differences or whatever, you sit down and you talk through things.
Right.
You talk through things. You come out, you bring yourself out, you expose yourself, you make yourself vulnerable. But in this particular case, nobody wants to be vulnerable. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because even the black people have to be vulnerable. And one of the ways to be vulnerable is to say, okay, we've exaggerated things. Because sometimes as black people, we exaggerate the situation. We make everything about race. Everything is racism. See a little thing is racism. You know what I'm saying? But the reason that exaggeration comes out is something we have to be able to explain to the other side. Because the reason we come out with this exaggeration is because of ABCD.
Okay.
Because there is a reason for that.
Right.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And you can go back to relationship. If a woman keeps saying, that's what you do all the time, she's generalizing it.
Right.
The reason she's generalizing it is because she's had enough. She's tired. It hurts her.
Right.
So you have to understand that side, why she comes out that way. So the other side also has to understand why black people come out that way and say white people are racist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They have to understand why that generalization
Yes.
becomes a part of the conversation.
Right.
Because they might want that this thing should be taken out of the conversation, but you can't take it out of the conversation.
And I'm guessing vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Vice versa.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It works the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because no, go ahead.
Good. So the blame has to be taken off the table.
Right.
There has to be an acceptance.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying this is not a white problem or a Latino problem or an Asian problem or a black problem. It's not a black versus white problem. It's a human problem. It's a human problem.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we all have biases. Okay?
Right.
And biases are not necessarily bad.
Right.
They're bad if you use them to disadvantage the other person.
But
You
see,
get
the
my
problem that the biases may have came up is because the experiences that people may have had, you know,
Yeah.
if you, let's just say you're from the Far East and you had an issue with, let's just say, because I'm trying to take away from the black and white thing. Let's just say you had an issue within Spain or Mexico or whatever, you know, because of that. Let's just say you had it young, you kept dealing with it. Once you get older, you're already getting ready to be biased or perpetuate your issue.
It's like a
that you
conditioning,
have.
right?
Right.
It's a conditioning, yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. And this is what different parts of this conversation need to understand. But also there's another important thing, Ed, is we need to broaden the conversation. Because I think sometimes when we talk about this conversation, it seems that we're talking about two oppositions, black and white.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to involve the people in between, people of color.
Yes.
They need to be involved. And so what happens is the people of color become spectators.
Right.
They're just watching this drama unfold. And they don't say anything because they're afraid of offending one or the other. You get my point?
Absolutely true.
So we have to be able to structure this conversation in a way that makes them comfortable to say what they think from the conversation or from the conflict.
Absolutely true.
We have to be to enable every person, irrespective of their color, be able to have a take in the situation, including black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It should no longer be a black and white issue.
And as I'm thinking, like they say, the number one problem in the world is communication.
Yeah.
Which means that we're obviously lacking communication.
It's communication.
To solve the problems that we're having in the world.
Mhm.
So the remedy that you just set up will solve a lot of problems.
We have to improve the communication.
Yes.
The communication skills have to improve. The quality of the communication has to improve.
Right.
And that's why I am hoping,
Mm-hmm.
fingers crossed, that a lot of these nuggets I've put in this book
Okay.
will bring out those tenets
Okay.
that will unlock the unhealthy conversations
Right.
and add to the quality of the conversations. Bring us to a place of confession where you said, you know what, I think I got it wrong there, because this is how I look at it. I look at white people as racist. So you can make that confession because it's not true.
Right.
You get my point.
Right.
But at the end of it, at the same time, you are equipped enough to be able to make the other side understand why you've been generalizing the issue. You get the point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those are some of the things that we need to play around with, because this thing, the issue has dynamics to it,
Okay.
and we need to understand those dynamics.
Right.
When I talk about dynamics in a relationship, because a relationship has dynamics.
Yes.
You know, when you get married, you are in your honeymoon phase.
Right.
You know, you're dealing with a woman, okay? You're dealing with a female, but she changes. She becomes a mother, and then she changes. She becomes a grandmother. And so those are the different dynamics of the relationship.
Right.
And we have to understand how those different dynamics shift up and down like the gears of a car. You can't drive in gear 1 alone.
Right.
When you drive your car, it shifts. 1, 2.
Yeah.
You hear it going.
Right.
It's shifting, right? And so the relationship has to shift between those gears, and that's what needs to
And
happen.
then you got to make an adjustment with that shift as well.
Absolutely. And that's what needs to happen in the conversation on race. We have to know how to shift around those. We can't just be doing the conversation in gear 1.
So very true.
It's not going anywhere. It will move,
Right.
but it won't go anywhere.
Right. You still be in the same place where snails
Absolutely.
crawl. Right.
Your engine will just shut down.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Now, this book, how can people get it? Amazon?
Yeah. So once the book is ready at the end of the month,
Yes.
I'm looking at the launch date of 8th November.
Okay.
But once everything is done at the end of the month, they can get it from different sources such as Amazon, Kindle, Goodreads, Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
They'll be able to buy it online. Yeah. So I'll furnish more details.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a website up and running now.
All right.
There was just a technical glitch today because I just started running it on Friday. So there was a technical glitch because I'm, just learning to get around it. But my website is up and running. They'll be able to buy it from there and get more information, announcements, ads, and things like that. Also from Facebook, Instagram,
Okay.
and Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll be able to buy it there. Yeah.
All right. Real quick, and then we'll probably jump to a musical break. For inspiring authors, all right, how did you find the time to write this?
Yeah.
Was
a
it only on the weekends? Was it every night in the middle of the night?
Yeah,
Was it between this and that at work?
yeah.
What was it?
So the journey, this particular book,
Okay.
for this particular book, the journey was slightly different. I've done other books that I've not talked about that I self-published in my country, but that's a different scenario because I have to republish them because the scenario back in my country is so different from out here because of the advancement, obviously. But the journey for this book was slightly different. One, it was the first time I was writing a novel. Okay. So when I came into the country, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything because I had to get documentation and things like that.
Okay.
So I was mostly home.
Okay.
So that's how come I had so much time to write. So the first phase of writing the book was about 2 months where I was just drafting it at a speed. I was just going and going and going and going and going.
Okay.
And after I drafted it, I looked at the weaknesses of the story, looked at places where it was weak and where I needed to improve and make adjustments. And you must understand, I was still getting to understand the culture in America. So again, that was a part of developing the story. So it took another 2 months or so to expand it. It was a little bit short.
Okay.
Like I think 70 pages or something.
Okay.
Because now it's on. You told me how long it was, and you're like, oh, it was you that was telling me that. 185. Whoa.
Yeah.
So it was 70 pages at the time, and so now I had to expand it, but I had to expand with substance.
Right. You just don't want to just
put in
put
stuff
in
that's
junk.
That's
It's a
unnecessary.
waste of time. Right.
And I know that I did a good job with expanding it because after the editing, I tried to compress it and remove a lot of things, and I just would not.
Okay.
And usually professionals will tell you if you find you can't take out anything from the book, then it must be a good book.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
It was hard to take anything out. Like if I take out this, it's like it changes the story.
Okay.
If I take out this arm, it changes the story.
Okay.
So I was able to pull out a few pieces, try and make it a little bit smaller, but just a few pieces. So
Okay.
overall, it took me about 9 months to write the full story
All right.
and be satisfied that I've written a story and it's a good story.
Okay.
And then after that, I started revising it, and I took longer revising the story because I started making updates, updating it to suit the current times.
Yes.
Saying it, in accordance with current trends.
Okay.
And things like that. So now those were the adjustments I was working on.
Okay.
And then I did about 4 revisions.
Wow.
And I don't like revisions because I don't like rereading stuff I read.
Right.
I write because
Right.
it makes me feel bad when I see mistakes.
Right.
It makes me feel like I'm not a good writer. So I don't like revision, but I had to do the revision. Yeah. So over with the revisions, it came to about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
writing the project and finishing it, having the satisfaction that I've written a good story, it took 9 months.
Wow. Wow.
That's good information to let an upcoming artist or somebody who maybe even thinking about writing a book, let them know that these things take time and
Oh,
it's a
they do take
process.
time. It's a
Right.
process. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And
It-
you got to be careful with it.
Yeah,
You know?
true. Yeah. You really have to be careful. And I like that part. You've
Mhm.
got to be careful because you're trying to put out something that's helpful.
Right.
You know, you want something that's healthy on the market that when people read, even if it picks out problem areas about people, but it still sends a positive message. And I'm glad that this is a book that, you know, sends out a good message about all of us. It
Okay.
points out the weaknesses of Black people,
Right.
what they're doing wrong in the conversation,
Mhm.
but it also points out the problems with the white people, what they're doing wrong, why the conversation is failing,
Mhm.
and also the people in between, the people of color, the Latinos, the Asians, the Chinese,
Right.
you know, what they're not doing right to
Okay.
help the conversation. So I do pass around the blame
Right.
over to Black people and white people and Asians are over here.
Right.
And I try to involve everyone.
You giving everybody they just do.
Absolutely.
blame.
Yes, of blame. Everybody
Right.
takes a share of the blame.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna go to a quick musical break, but because, like I said, this gentleman here, everybody, is a producer and everything else, I want him to announce. Oh yeah, I'm putting you on the spot,
Oh
man.
yeah, you don't know. This happens all the time.
Yeah, I put
Yo.
a lot. I put a lot of people
God
on the
help
spot.
me.
Don't worry
Oh
about it.
my
Don't worry about it.
God.
But announce this song with the singer. I'm gonna let you have it. Go ahead.
Well, he really put me on the spot by calling me a producer.
Well, you've done a lot of things, bro.
So anyway, the truth is I've done a lot, you know, in my journey of aspiring to be known as an
Yes.
artist,
Yes.
as a writer, as an author, as an actor. And along the journey in 2014, as I said before, I produced with a friend a short film,
Yes.
which is like 17 minutes,
Mhm.
and it's called Home Sour Home. And I was basically looking at domestic violence, you know, what normally happens in homes, in the marriage, you know, when there's conflict and things like that, and it leads up to violence and things like that. And I was basically speaking up against that. And in the process of producing that, so I wrote that story. In the process of producing that, I produced a theme song for that short film, and that song is entitled "I Need a Cure." So I wrote that song, and then a friend of mine produced it. His name is Prince Masia. I need to announce him on Facebook. Prince Masia, I hope you can hear me. He's got such a beautiful, rich voice. So he did the vocals and he produced the song.
Prince
Here it
Masia.
is.
Here we go.
I need a cure.
Could it be you? Could it be you? You say what I need to know, you always seem to know. So tell me the truth, yeah. Tell me the truth. If God isn't really there, all that He says He is. Could it be true? Oh, could it be true? Oh, I need a cue today. Show me the path to take. I really don't believe. Somebody talk to me. I need a cue today. Show me the path to take. I really don't believe. Somebody talk to me. 'Cause I need a cue. I need a cue today.
That there was I Need a Cure from Prince Masia.
Prince Masia is the vocals.
All right. And you heard it here on Elevated Vibes on IntellectualRadio.com. Now, let me invite you all to the conversation. You can hit us up on Facebook Live, or you can hit us up 708-223-8953. All right, we're going to keep this going. Many times, our families and our friends.
Can I just say
Go ahead.
one thing before you
Yeah, go ahead.
get
Yeah,
to
please cut him off.
What? What I do? I ain't did nothing yet.
I
I've been
want-
nice. Go
that?
ahead.
I want to echo this.
What's up?
This book is not an attack on anyone,
Okay.
or on any one particular race. And like we said, before we went to the music break,
Yeah.
I've passed the blame all across the spectrum. Blamed Asians, blamed Latinos, blamed black people, blamed white people. Spread the blame
Yes.
across the spectrum of color.
Yes.
So I want it known. Beloved hatred is not an attack on a particular race. It's not an attack on the white race or white people. That's not what it is. This is a book about sharing the blame, and we're trying to see what have we done as black people that hasn't helped. What have we done as Hispanics that hasn't helped? What have we done as white people that hasn't helped? And how can we bring those pieces together to finally come up with a solution? Because it doesn't seem to be stopping. We don't seem to be solving the problem.
You got the key to the unopened chest.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is it that we as white people can bring to the table? We as black people, we as Hispanic, we as Chinese, we as Japanese, we as Koreans, we as Asians, we as Pacific Islanders, we as Indians. What can we bring to the table? This book is a mirror for every particular race. To pick up that book like a mirror and look at yourself in the mirror. Take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. How am I being a problem? One of the things, I did a podcast today. I've opened up a podcast.
Yes.
And one of the things I was addressing today is how that we are all an agent of change. Every person is an agent of change. If you are just looking at this conversation and not saying anything, not doing anything, just looking at it on TV every time,
Right.
you are an agent of change that is affecting the conversation negatively, because change is happening through you all the time.
Yes.
Wherever you are, change is happening through you. Whether you do something or you don't, change is happening through you, because as a human being, you are an agent of change. So you're either affecting change negatively or positively. When you do nothing, you are causing change to go the negative direction.
That's true.
We are all an agent of change.
That's
So
true.
you need to do something, you as an individual. So that's what this book is, Beloved Hatred. It's a mirror for you to pick up and look at yourself.
Right.
What are you doing? Are you just pointing fingers? Because if you're just pointing fingers, you are being a negative agent of change. You're
Right.
making it worse. But go ahead.
No.
I took too many of your minutes.
No. You're fine. And
I do get passionate about
I
this
personally
thing, right?
love
Okay.
it. I personally
Yeah.
love it. And you're right. You have to be that agent of change. And too many times people have sat down and said,
And done
"Oh,
nothing.
that's them."
Yeah, that's them. That's the black
You
people.
know,
It's the white people. It's the
right.
black people. It's the white people.
And then it could even get worse, because you could turn around and say, "Oh, well, and it could be black people that will say, "Oh, well, that's the black people from the West Coast," or "That's the black people from down south."
There you go.
You know,
There you go.
We've learned to separate
Right.
ourselves instead
There
of
you go.
gathering
Right.
as human beings
There you
Right.
to
go.
communicate. And solve a problem.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. One of the worst things I've seen, and I'm not trying to pick on them, but I am going to start this. All right. You would see where Hispanic folks would say, "Oh, well, that's the Cubans." Oh, well, that's the Mexicans.
Yeah. Where does that come from? The stereotyping, right?
Yeah. And that's how they would do it. And they do it in regular conversation,
Yeah.
not thinking twice about it.
And you know what? We always talk about a learn process.
Yes.
I think we need to start teaching people how to unlearn the process. If there's something called a learn process, we need to unlearn processes and then learn how to move forward. once
Renew the
again.
mind.
Yes, definitely. But I can tell that you're a person of information and communication, and it sounds like this book is definitely a mind opener, or at least an eye opener to
Yeah.
those who want to be honest to themselves,
Yeah.
or honestly may not want to be open to others, but can read a book, right, to get insight
Yes.
and maybe can change some things that they are or not thinking.
Yeah. Because I do love what one person said who read the book, a professional.
Mm-hmm.
She said it gave me a lot to think about.
Yes.
She said your book is a mind altering theory.
Okay.
It changes the mindset. It's mindset changing. She said that.
Okay.
And this was a white person.
Mm-hmm.
So your book is mind changing.
Right.
It's incredible what you've done.
Well, see, you're being that agent of change. Well, go ahead.
There you go. There you go. Agent of change.
There you go.
And one of the things I want to say is if it means you writing a book, write the book. Because maybe you're not good with voice.
Right.
Maybe you're good with a pen. write it down and give it to us, and we want to make that a part of the conversation. And one more thing I'll point out is, it feels to me like America is at a place where they need to hear from somebody independent.
Come on now.
That's true.
So here I am, an African. I don't understand the history. I don't understand American culture as you guys do.
Yes.
But there needs to be that middle voice that comes in and brings in different aspects to this problem and conversation.
Right.
And that's what I've done in this book. And I know there's millions of people out there who have these same intermediate ideas, middle ground ideas that they can bring in and diffuse the tension.
Okay.
Because the tension is there. We can't pretend it's not. I feel it all the time. It's in the air all the time. It's right there. You feel it. It's thick in the air. You feel it.
So what do you suggest that can get people to listen to the middle guy? Like you said, there's usually certain groups that you hear all the time, over and over.
Because the conversation has become mundane and boring.
Right, exactly.
So you hear the same things, the same voices.
What do you suggest where they may, because it's always been a middle guy here and there and so forth, but you don't hear them.
Right. So again, it comes to mindset changing.
Okay.
Because Americans will need to realize there are people out there who know certain things that you don't know. They are out there.
Yes.
And the thing is that in life, you don't know what might save your life. You have no idea.
That's true.
You might be striving in something and struggling all the time, all along. And there's a guy that looks simple somewhere. I write quotes.
Okay.
And one of the quotes I've written over the years, and I'm going to publish all these things. You'll see them eventually. One of the quotes I've written is, sometimes you need a fool. Actually, let me say it this way. Once in a blue moon, you need a fool. Once in a blue moon, you need a fool. It's the fool that is needed once in a blue moon.
Yes.
And I personally have made that a personal lesson, because you can learn anything from anybody.
Yes.
That's basically what we're trying to say.
Yes.
You can learn anything from anyone if you want to learn.
Right.
And so if you're looking at faces, looking at people's intellectual levels, you probably won't learn anything, because you can learn from a fool. You can learn from a fool.
No matter what level you think you're at.
Right. You will learn for that fool, because number one, that fool, you already know that they're a fool, but you're going to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Because even in the foolish things they say,
right,
they're trying to say something.
True.
That's the bottom line.
Right.
Even in the foolish things they say,
it's a message there.
They're trying to say something. So if you don't have the ears to hear what they're saying,
receive it,
all you see is foolishness.
Yes. Gotcha. But you gotta look deeper for the message.
Absolutely. You have to look deeper. A fool can save your life. And so once in a blue moon, you need a fool.
True.
Once in a blue moon, it's a fool that you need.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Now, you said you had some other books out there that it's hard to find here in America.
Right.
But I know for a fact there are many people that thirst for knowledge, even knowledge of a different perspective, you know. And so what I'm asking you right now, if you can, some of the titles of those books, just so that people could start Googling and everything else, maybe they could find something, might, try to check you out.
So unfortunately, they will not find them if they Google them.
Okay. Well, or ask around. You never know.
Because I did,
who knows who.
Yeah, because all I did was just print them in my country and sold them. So that was the self-publishing I did.
Okay.
So, I did not put them out per se, put them on the international market. Unfortunately, I did not.
Okay.
So when I came over to the US, I was looking at ways in which I could republish them so they could be available on, on the internet, and you could Google them and find them.
Okay.
So that's what I'm in the process of doing. I'm basically still settling down in the US.
Okay.
So I wanted to make this my introduction.
All right.
I basically had to come up with a strategy.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because the previous books the books I've talked about that I previously wrote, they are written in a certain context.
Okay.
And so when I started learning the American culture,
yes,
I realized I had to make adjustments.
And adjust the context so that people can understand.
There you go. So
Right.
that's the process I'm into right now. Those books are coming,
Right.
but I've had to go back and look at the context, because one of the important things I'll say, and this is all a part of good conversation, there's certain things that in the African context, that if you say to me to be offensive, but then in the American context, they're not offensive.
Right.
There's one thing, and I'll share this.
Okay.
I have a very dear friend, he's American,
Mm-hmm.
and one day we had a sharp argument. He was upset with me, he was angry with me. And I was like, what is going on? And a friend of mine came and said, oh, it's because you said you people. I was talking to them and I said, you people don't know what I'm saying.
Okay.
And he was mad.
Yeah.
And I said, what did I do? He said, you don't say you people. But then so I said, what am I supposed to say?
But then that goes back to the experience
Yeah.
that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go. And you're right about that.
Right.
And he said, well, at least say you guys. So here's the interesting thing.
Okay.
In my culture, if you say you guys, they will run you over. It's disrespectful.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Especially when you're talking to elders.
Uh-huh.
If you say you guys,
Right.
it's very disrespectful.
Gotcha.
You'd rather say you people.
Right. Right.
So over here it's the opposite. So there's all these.
Yeah.
You gotta adjust to where you're at.
There you go. So when I looked at the books, I said to myself, oh, there's some things I need to say differently.
Okay.
And that's why I've been holding on to them. Otherwise, by now, you would have seen them. They've been on Google and everywhere.
Okay.
But I didn't want to offend people, because I realized that over here, things are said differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are things that when you say to us in Africa, we don't take it personal. But I've noticed over here, you say those things and they pull out guns.
Yeah. I hear you.
So I've had to make adjustments. So
Okay.
those books are in the pipeline. They're coming. I need them just adjusted a little bit and then edited, and they'll be available after this book. So this book is really a forerunner.
All right.
Of
It's the beginning here.
Yeah, it's the beginning.
Okay.
It's really the beginning. It's a way of me introducing myself as an author, as a person that has something to say. And then, you know, in the future, we can have conversations about different things. You were asking about titles. One of the titles that I've written is a book entitled The Original Purpose of Marriage. And the reason for that is because I realized that there's a lot of conflicts in marriages. Marriages are struggling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it used to be in the old days, like 50 years ago, 100 years ago or so.
And I could see where that may be combative over here in a certain way.
There you go.
I get that.
There you go.
Right.
You know, and marriages are practiced a little bit differently over here than in Africa.
Right.
So there were all these slight differences that I had to look through. You know, I had to get it right.
Okay.
You know, the other title I've written is a book called Work Ethics. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was basically addressing the work culture in my country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trying to steer up people from being lazy and just sitting on their butt
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Just work hard in life and you can get anywhere. And another book is a book called Total Success. Because over the years, this is my observation as a philosopher. You know, I've looked at definitions of success, and to me, they seem to be partial. You know, so I came up with a concept called total success.
Okay.
In that, I'm looking at the different sensitive areas or the key areas of our lives. Every person has key areas of their lives, and one of those is health. Your health.
Yes.
You know, finances and relationship. And for me, relationship is top of the bunch. Relationships are extremely important. And after that, you need to manage your health. Right. So when you look at these areas or components of a person, and then your spiritual being as well, you have to know how to take care of your spiritual welfare or your spiritual being.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put those things together, you get total success. But oftentimes what happens in life is people just focus on financial success.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of times that's what is
and then the
pushed
financial,
out there.
And then the financial success wrecks your marriage.
Right. Exactly.
You know, yeah. Yeah. So, and then I've written a book on sex as well. And then the other book is The Dynamics of Marriage. And in this is where I talk about the difference between being a man and male, and then the difference between being a man and a father, and the difference between being a father and a lover to your wife. Those are different dynamics in a relationship that if they're not properly managed,
right,
they create conflict, and then they spoil the conversation. And once there's no communication, it's a total breakdown. And that's what takes the relationship back.
You know what? I think there's a whole lot of people out there that need to look a bit of that right there.
Right, true. I agree with you.
You might need to hurry up. You know?
Right. Just read his book. Y'all don't know what
Read
y'all talking
that
about.
man's book.
Yeah, so quite a lot on the plate, and it's a lot of work, but taking one step at a time. And sometimes I have to ask, I don't know, what do you think? Sometimes I have to ask, should we take life one step at a time or one day at a time?
Very good question.
Should we take life one day at a time
or one step
at a time? Which one is it?
I'll take one step.
Yeah.
I'll take one step at a time.
Yeah, I have to agree. One step it would be.
One step at a time. Yeah.
Because your day could be so different that.
Yeah. So once again, I reiterate this is not a book about attacking any particular race.
Okay.
This is a book of conversation, bringing out nuggets, key areas of this conversation where we've gotten stuck. And I'm coming as an intermediary person, as an umpire. You know, I'm not African American. I'm not white.
Right.
So there's a perspective that I have that is like neutral,
Mm-hmm.
and it's helpful for the conversation.
Right.
And I believe that's what I've achieved in this. Interestingly, your cousin again. Let me come to her. Miyoshi.
Okay.
Do you know
Mhm.
that when she read the book,
Okay.
do you know who her favorite character was?
Who?
The white cop.
Really?
You know why? Because in the book, I portray him as a victim. So she didn't like what happened to him in the story. And I'm not going to tell you because you have to buy the book and read it.
Right.
So she had more sympathy for the white cop than the woman.
Okay.
And that was my idea
Okay.
because we had to get rid of the blame culture.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
We had to dispel
I
that.
see what you
Yeah.
did there.
Because otherwise
Yeah.
we won't talk. We won't have any conversation.
Right.
Right. We'll just attack.
Yeah, we'll just attack and there won't be any conversation.
Right.
But you were getting to your last thing there. I don't want to interrupt you.
That's okay, because you know what? On many of them, you answered them
Oh yeah,
already.
he's answering questions that
I have to ask you this. All right, now you spoke on the cure could be spiritual, could be medical, it could be so forth,
psychological,
emotional, all that. Now, which one do you believe in your own feeling? Not myself, not anybody else. Your feeling works the best.
The spiritual.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for me, the spiritual gathers everything together.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional makeup of a person does not gather everything.
Okay.
The physical part of a person does not pull everything together. What pulls everything together is the spiritual aspect of a person. And that's why spirituality is the most important thing about a person, their spiritual makeup.
Okay.
And that's why even when I do counseling, you know, I advise women when you're choosing a partner, the most important thing to consider is the spirituality of the person.
And see, that's why I put you on the spot, because you have your hand in so many hats.
See that? Because unfortunately,
Mhm.
sorry, ladies, I'm not attacking you, but ladies choose a man because of his financial abilities.
Yeah, I can
And
see
that-
where you about to get under attack on that. But go ahead, bro.
he been hiding it. Don't worry
You know,
about it. Throw
so
that rock up.
So you hear these things like, no job,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
J-O-B.
Right. If
J-
you want to be with me, you got to have a J-O-B.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you want to be with me, you're going to have a J-O-B. But then the thing is that that's not what the foundation is. The foundation is the spirituality. Interestingly, one of my podcasts, I hope I'm not talking too much.
Oh, no, you're fine.
You have the right to pinch me here.
No, you're good, man.
I was saying on one of my podcasts, and I was saying, I was sharing about my life.
Okay.
My dad rejected me when I was young. And I wondered why I lost him when I was 13. But in my teenagehood and early adulthood, I struggled a lot emotionally. And one of the things I learned growing as a spiritual person, I learned that a child
Mm-hmm.
hears and discerns things that go on between the parents before they're even born. And so I gave a piece of advice. When male and female get together in a relationship, boy and girl,
Mm-hmm.
they always have to ensure that they have a healthy environment in the home. Because when you have a child, the child carries the atmosphere that exists between the two of you. So if there's a lot of conflict between the two of you,
Yes.
misunderstandings,
Yes. And they see that they're
unresolved
going to start.
conflict.
Yeah.
they pick it up spiritually.
Right.
You don't even have to tell them anything. They just pick it up spiritually.
It's that feeling.
Yeah. It's like a feeling.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, I mean, I don't want to delve too much into spirituality, but that's why spirituality is extremely important.
Okay.
It's the thing that pulls everything together. It's not the skeleton that keeps a man together. It's the spirituality that keeps.
Okay. All right.
But I don't know why you took me there. So, but yeah, you put me on the spot. I mean, you exposed me. You probably even embarrassed me.
No, man.
I mean that.
In a good way. I know what you mean. But maybe what you have said, what we have said through here, which we always try to do through our shows, it not only helps us grow as a radio crew, but hopefully it helps everybody who's listening, who's watching, help them grow. And maybe it can pass that, as you said, a nugget along. They may grow and they may teach somebody else, hey, I heard
because
boom,
you pass
boom,
it
boom.
on. Yeah.
Exactly.
These things are generational.
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely. But we are against time today.
Oh yeah, looks like I wondered.
No.
Time waits for no one.
Exactly. So first, if anything, I would love to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I am most grateful.
Thank you.
I am most grateful for the opportunity to just be able to share these things.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming and giving your message and just broadcasting what you're doing. So this is why we do this, for people like you, and we appreciate you.
Most definitely. And everybody remember, this will be coming out November 8th, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It'll be coming out November 8th. It'll be through almost every platform that you can find. Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Spotify, Goodreads.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Once again.
And the list goes on. It's going to be a little.
Once again, thank you. And everybody, look for more things coming from him, because as you know, he has his hands in many different things. All right, this is Elevated Vibes on IntellectualRadio.com. You all stay tuned, because there is a new show coming real soon on Intellectual Radio. This is our iHeart radio station. Much love.
Peace.
I don't know what I need, I don't know what I'm looking for. Could it be you? Could it be you?